Hello, everyone. Just want to say that thank you for being here. Honestly, this is for Nikki, and anybody who wants to watch is welcome. I just have two things. One, I'm not really able to look at chats, but Raquel is going to help me out by bringing things to my attention if somebody says something. And but the typing is so loud. You're probably hearing her type. You might want to mute Raquel until.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. So Nikki won. This is a belated session for Nikki, who won this in the last Big Vision and Vision challenge. And so let's take a look. I don't know if Nikki is here. It'd sure be better if she were.
She said she's going to be jumping on, so she should be here soon.
Okay. And I really don't know Nikki. I don't have the benefit of knowing her, so I'm not really sure. Pardon?
She's the best.
She's the best. But I don't have the benefit of knowing where to aim my lens. So I'm just seeing a lot of different things, and I'm just going to share them as in no particular order, I should say. So we want to start by saying that Nikki is an 11-8 sacral reflector. Just kidding. Wait, that's not
right. I just had a heart attack.
Sorry, little humor there. No, she's a 1-3 emotional generator, which is quite different and not imaginary as the first thing that I just announced. So let's just start there, because that's really everything that you need to get right first. All of these other things are absolutely contribute to one traveling much lighter through life, knowing how they operate, knowing where they're vulnerable to being hijacked by others' energies and destabilized, and where they can even stabilize themselves by inappropriate, unhealthy expression of their own definition. But if you're not operating correctly from the get-go, being that of your honoring your inner authority after you respond to your aura strategy, or excuse me, respond in Nikki's case. But if you're not following your aura strategy and honoring your inner authority, then none of these other things are going to, hi Nikki, I'm glad you're here, are going to operate correctly. So you have to get that right first, right? You have to find balance in these two things first, and then more is revealed and that you can attune to and clean up and be aware of. But man, oh man, human design is so interesting because it's all about you. And there's so much, it explains so much that your mind is on board and just wants to keep you in the knowledge, keep you in the information phase, and which detracts from the living it phase. So sometimes it's not great to know so much. You know, ignorance can be bliss to a certain extent in human design, because you need to get these first two, this prerequisite of following your strategy and honoring your inner authority. You have to get that down. That is your white belt status. And if you're not going to jump to, you know, unless you're in some black belt factory, you're not going to be able to make progress. And you're going to still get in your own way. You have to be earnest about this. And it's often difficult because life tends to present situations where it's much easier to do the not self thing or to be carried away. That said, the first thing you want to key in on, and I want to preface my comments again by saying the caveat is that I don't know you. I don't know how much growth you've made, how much progress you've made on your journey, how many of the things that I'm about to share you're aware of and you've cleaned it up because you're aware of it. And through living your life, through your own wisdom, a lot of these things don't nail you as they may have in the past. But there's still things, they could still show up as voices in your head. They could still show up as something that occurs to you that you just don't humor anymore. You don't allow it to move you towards inappropriate action. And some days you're going to do better than others, just like all of us. This is not, human design is not something where it's a destination that you reach and then you can just phone it in. Because your mind is always there waiting, and your mind knows all your buttons, knows exactly how to hook you. So it does require regular awareness. And when you do slip up and you go unconscious for a period of time, and the goal is that the more you do this work, the fewer those moments will be unconscious. Because when you go unconscious, it'll trigger you into, oh, wait, this doesn't feel right. And then you can course correct. But I do want to say part of that course correcting is not letting your mind tell a story about what that meant about you having that temporary F up. The correct way to respond to that is sort of pick yourself up, ditch the story, just course correct without the story. Because that'll just keep you in some sort of shame spiral or some other place that your mind can be dominant and relevant. Okay, so first things first, in this order, you are here to respond to what life brings you. What makes that difficult for you? Well, the fact that you have completely open head means that all day long you're receiving intel, be it clairsentience, clairaudience, clairs. You're receiving information regularly. It's not just psychic material, but your imagination. Lots of the plague of many shiny things that can distract you. Many brilliant thoughts, absolutely brilliant thoughts that you pluck out of the ether. And so it can be difficult to know which thing to do. And when you don't know which thing to do, you might not do anything, or you just don't know what's worth doing. And in human design, none of it's worth doing until you receive clues and cues externally that exist outside your head of what the universe is putting on a menu for you to consider. And that would be in the form of responding. So let's say you have a brilliant idea. I want to do such and such. You don't want to take any action on that. What you would do is you would see, okay, this sounds like a really appealing idea. Let me see what shows up in the form of synchronicities. Is there anything that the universe is emphasizing as this is a possibility? This is a menu item. And again, just because it's a menu item doesn't mean that's something that, to continue the metaphor, that you can order and eat without consequences. That just simply means it's on the menu. If it doesn't show up for you in the form of a synchronicity, something external, something concretized in your reality that you're not controlling, that you have no part in, hands off, part in. And I'm talking about things like bibliomancy, opening a book, you read a word that happens to be what you're, what your idea was. And it doesn't always have to start as an idea in your head. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying for you with this open head and all these ideas that you may have, hold the idea and then see what shows up that has nothing to do with you bringing the topic forward. So that could be a stranger's conversation in a grocery store. It could be a billboard that you pass while you're driving, a song on the radio, things like that. Once that happens and that box is checked, then it goes to your inner authority, which is emotional, which means that you're not here to be spontaneous and that there's no truth for you in the now except for that is how you're feeling right now. And so your method for making decisions is very slow, which is probably been difficult for you because you have so many motors and so much high strung. I would just say you have a design of someone who's high strung because you have, see, I'm going all over the place, so I hope you can keep up with me. Because you have adrenalized emotions, they come out with urgency, as does your awareness in what's not working. And we'll go into that maybe in a little bit. But you have adrenalized awareness and adrenalized emotional expression. And that can make somebody very quick. But just in general, being spontaneous is not good for you, even if you have spot on insight. The reason why it's not good for you to make a decision is because your decision-making process is a lot like a developing Polaroid picture where you're getting a pixel of information every time you move in this emotional wave that goes from, for lack of a better description, hope to pain and back again, up and down. And you never want to mute this by way of, I should be careful in how I say this, but you don't want to make yourself feel better because this is your intelligence that you don't want to mute. It's so important that you do feel your emotions, even when they're uncomfortable and they're low, then you honor them differently. That's the time to be creative. That's the muse. But if you're looking at something where we're talking about a consequential decision, if you're looking at something to decide upon, this could be a new friendship. It could be where to move. It could be which opportunity to move forward to, which idea that showed up on the menu to say yes to, which house. You have to put these things off as long as you can. Push them. You have to at least sleep on it. Because what happens is that what you're seeing about that particular decision resonates to that point on the graph of where you are emotionally. There's like an emotional resonance that allows, you have blinders on sort of. And what you can see is what resonates to that, how you're feeling at that point. So more is revealed to you about a decision as you go through this movement. If you just see it right away and you make a decision, you're only seeing that pixel of information that resonates to, I'm feeling great, so it's a great idea. No, you're seeing the great parts of that resonate. You're not seeing the dirt and the yuck that you're going to see when you're in a lower spot. And I don't want to make it sound like there's highs and there's lows. It's like, you know how the 64 color crayon box, it's like way more than that. Because you're not just feeling these simplistic, I feel good, I feel bad. It's a complex stew of emotions. It could be feeling really good, but with like a tinge of sad nostalgia, or, you know what I mean? It could be just a complex, like a meal. But all that differentiation in your emotional experience is showing you new things about the thing you're considering. So you need to give yourself time to go through that whole movement so that you can really see this bigger picture. And you're not going for 100% yes or no. You're going for like 70, 75% yes or no is enough, because you're not going for certainty, you're going for clarity. And after this movement, it'll start to lock around some percentage. And if it's less than that, then that's a no. If it's that or more, it can be a yes. You're not going for 100% because you are going to feel not 100% about a lot of things. Maybe, and a maybe is a no for now, always. You don't want to hedge. It could be the best opportunity in the world, but you're like, I don't want to miss this opportunity, but I'm not sure. Miss it. It's a no for now. Now, part of what makes you emotional is this 1949, and some of the themes that I just want to say that's how you make a decision. Let me just put a barrier here. First, you respond, and then you feel into it. And what you're responding to is something that you have no hand in presenting externally. You could start as an idea in your head, but there should be no further energy placed there unless something concretized shows up in your reality. So, and in part of something that you're going to want to say yes to or no to, which is going to be really important to you, before I move to the 1949. And I'm looking now at your gate 5, which has gate 5, line 5, which has to do with also waiting. And when it comes to saying yes, it's going to require you to not let anybody pressure you into giving an answer, because waiting is very good for you. And it's intimately tied to your natural rhythm, and doubly so again as a generator. You need to feel your place in the flow of whatever it is in order for that to be correct. And sometimes when you can't find your place in the flow of it, it's not going to be easy to get on board with it. And this is not a mind thing. This is not an intellectual thing. This is a sense felt thing that you're feeling into. Where do I fit into the flow of this thing that I'm saying yes to or no to if I don't? So that's a really important place. And if you're not feeling your place in the flow of that, then that may be a particularly important nuance to clock. So I want to talk about that 1949 because I see a lot of competing vibrations. There's a need to control. I need a sip of something. Sorry. Cheers. Here's some of the themes I see, and I don't know how they show up for you, but I see in your chart these themes that seem to keynote quite a bit repetitively. Resources is one of them. And it's needing your own resources, having lessons with resources, having lessons with power on your way to acquire resources, where power and service are sort of providing lessons. And I'm going to go into lessons in a second because this is a real easy path to lessons with regard to your line 3 being the martyr and learning through trial and error of what doesn't work. And that being so important and so tough. and you're tough. Maybe, you don't want to be so tough. Uh, I heard somebody say, I forgot, I don't know, I'm going to bastardize this, but it was something like, can we please be done with the character development portion of my life and go straight to the fruits of my labors part? And there's a lot of learning uh, what doesn't work. And that's part of your service. I mean, it's such a huge part of your service because with your 1858 channel of judgment, you can't help but see what doesn't work. You can't help but notice in the other what's not working and um, where things don't fit the pattern. Which one of these is not like the other? The weakest link in the chain, seeing where things break down. It's a Debbie Downer superpower, but it's important. It's inconvenient because it can really F up your good vibe because you can't help but notice these things. And so this is where you're challenged because it's connected to your root and there's an urgency to share these awarenesses. And and this is not designed to be used on your closest peeps. It's not designed to be used on your family and your friends. It can if it's invited, but needs to be real clean here. And it's not really, sometimes if it's not used also in a healthy way, and we'll get into that in a second, um, you can turn it on yourself and just totally cannibalize yourself and rip yourself a new one. And you could have insomnia. I don't know if you have insomnia, but people with that can have sleeping difficulties. And there's a need for like vigorous exercise. And there's really a need for you to use this power in a smart way, which means being paid to use it. You have psychic gifts. I don't know if you've tapped into them all, but in my personal opinion, whatever you do should capitalize on your psychic abilities, which you'll need to develop. And it's going to be, if it hasn't already, I don't know your path, but it takes time and effort to develop and to recognize what's you and what's not you. And to be careful about how you share these gifts. And that's your learning edge because it wants to be shared because it comes out urgent, connected, the same as your emotions. It's hard to keep these things in check. But if you're paid to show people, here's where I'm getting the correction needs to happen. And they're coming to you for that. And you're pulling them in and you're feeling them and you're helping them course correct because you can see where they're off. Using your powers in a healthy way will take some of that pressure off. Being able to bite your tongue better because it's getting exercised, because it's an always thing. It wants to be shared. You are designed to have this energy, not to just shut up, not to just keep it to yourself. It's your life force. But if you're not doing it in a healthy way, it's going to come out in a dumb way and it's going to hurt people or it's going to hurt you because you could just turn it inward. And that's not correct either. So that can also have to do with you, how you see other people too. That's another theme that comes in that sort of being able to how you hold this information without seeing people as inferior or feeling superior to them is also a challenge. Um, there's a real balance here for you in what I started out with resources and your path to acquiring resources, which has to do with security, has to do with making sure you're secure because you have control over resources uh, and territory. In your pursuit of that, there are lessons of loss and gain and possessions being lost or discarded or ruined, and then um, a cycle of like, I don't want any possessions, sort of like swearing that off kind of thing, like kind of a cycle of imbalance. And part of that imbalance can happen from how you acquire those things also. Um, because you have all the power to attract all these things. As long as you have this energy of service, and the service that I described is like one of those things, you're here to help, those things come to you because you have great ability. But being able to not be arrogant, not discount people, and not phone it in, not sacrificing substance for style, however that lands for you. Like, um, you don't want to assume that somebody doesn't know better. That actually also feeds in with your Lilith some, and I don't want to go into detail there. It's just worth looking into as a further study. Plus, I have to say, I am noticing a lot of past life stuff for you. I don't know what your feeling is about that, but there is past life stuff, and I wanted Raquel to give you a link. I do a past life regression. It's like $37. You have it for 3 days. You can do it multiple times. I think it could be very helpful in your case. Um, when it comes to matters of resources, love, and childhood. That's all I want to say about that right now. There could be something there for you that will help connect the dots to a lot of these things. So power and influence, on one hand, this is you, power and influence, selfless service, okay, so I just saw being called to look into Akashic records. So I would want to know, in what situation, when you say you're being called, does that mean you feel an attraction to looking into Akashic records, or that showed up out of the blue and you weren't even considering it? I would say those are two distinctly different things, but it's important to see how this thing showed up. Now, what I'd ask you to do, and I don't know if you already did this, but if that's the case, then I would wait to see how that's showing up in your life without looking for it. That means don't go to places where Akashic Records shows up regularly that you have seen it before, right? You want to notice it from other areas that you're not aware of. Okay, it keeps popping up a lot. Okay. Well, if it's popping up a lot and it's not something that you were controlling, and it's showing up in ways that are offline, let's say, because oftentimes with an open head, we're surfing the internet, and sure, we can get something that way too, but it can get a little muddy because we're sort of directing our attention to these different places. And I wouldn't say that it's meaningless. I would just say it would be meaningful if these things were showing up in other ways in reality. And if that's the case, then feel into that. And if that's what you want to do, then it's something that you're going to want to dive into. Okay. Then, as a one, you're going to need to develop a foundation in that. And so that means that you're going to need to dive fully into the thing and learn it before you can transmit it. And if you don't, then this is where Lilith will come in a little bit, because you might share something inappropriately in a way that, oh, no one's going to notice. You know, if I just kind of cut a corner and I don't know it perfectly, but I'm going to share it. Do the hard work, earnestly learn it. That's my recommendation. You don't get away with much when it comes to lip service or style without substance. These are areas that can, it's not that that you're a bad person by any means. And Lilith, for anyone, Lilith is not where you're a bad person. Lilith, though, will affect your choice making so that you can make bad choices. And yours are, well, we're not going to go into too much. And I think it's really rather personal. But because yours is in Taurus, it has to do with material things. And so, since that's on the subject of what we're talking about with your 1949 and resources and this sort of cycle of resources, and anyway, I don't know if I'm making any sense at all. I have a 4323. I don't know what I'm going to say at the time, and I bounce. And it takes a certain.
Yes, you are. You're making great sense.
I am? Oh, cool. I'll take another celebratory sip. So, also in this pursuit of resources, and I just want to stress the fact that you have powers that are very potent. They may be raw, you know, particularly if you say you're being called for Akashic records and you don't know Akashic records. I think that you'll have a talent there. Just be slow with it, methodical, or learn it, build the foundation for it before you just hit the ground running. But I think that you'll be very potent in that area. But in this cycle of materialism, of gaining, losing, and acquiring, and then having power lessons like you're at the top, and then how you handle being at the top, or how you handle being elevated, and the resistance in seeing others as inferior, even though you hold this energy of seeing what doesn't work. So it's going to require a lot of compassion to hold these things, hold these places where you see others as less than because you notice, with compassion. And that goes for also holding yourself with compassion, holding those areas in you that aren't where you want to be, or where you think you want to be, or where you think you're supposed to be, or where others are and you're not, and all those things. You're gonna have to like reframe that story. Because again, being a line 3 means you're here to bump into things. Things aren't going to go according to your plan. And so you need to somehow surrender to that when you enter into things correctly. So that is huge, because that is the difference between pain and suffering right there for you. Knowing, look, I'm following my strategy and authority. I responded, I felt into it, it feels right. And I'm going into it because I think this is what I'm going to get out of it. That I'm doing this because ... is what you have to hold very lightly, because it's not going to show up that way. But if you entered it into it correctly, you're going to get something so much better. That's going to be more meaningful, something that your mind couldn't predict. Yes, the thing you think you're getting out of it was just enough to get your mind on board to this thing. It, you know, if your mind said, no, this is going to be shitty, it's just, I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's basically, you go, okay, I'm doing it for this reason, but I have to understand, as long as I'm entering it into it correctly, that's all you need to pay attention to. And then it's kind of like a surrender, because that's where the mad scientist of you comes in. The part that thinks it's, creating a new bubblegum flavor and discovers the cure for chicken pox, or, discovers the cure for something more meaningful. So that's what you're built for. And that's how you serve others. What doesn't work? So what doesn't work? So, there's a lot of keynotes here. Seeing what doesn't work. 3 or 3, I'm bumping into things. I'm finding out what doesn't work so I can help serve other people. I have the 1858, the channel of judgment. I can see in others what's not working. I can see in the pattern what's not working. This is there can be a lot of pessimism here that you just need to be okay with. Look, it's not always fun, but these are your powers, inconvenient as they may be. And you have some potent psychic gifts that are a clean amplification of others. Not everyone. You're not, no one's psychic for everyone. And those who are psychic, if they have dormant gates in that center, are going to be flavoring, what's psychically coming to them with their own Mrs. Dash. It's when you have a completely open center, it's like I'm handing you a plate of my thoughts, but you're seeing, instead of one plateful, you're getting it amplified. So it's like a lot. And that, I don't know if that works as well in this case as it does with some of the others. There's a lot of distraction here. Okay, let me take a beat. I have a lot of stuff going through my head right now, and they're all not like in the same category, and they're all fighting for my tongue. So let me just take a minute and ask Raquel if there's anything, any feedback.
Yeah, there's lots of feedback. I'm not seeing any specific questions.
Okay. So I would say that looking at your gates in these two columns, there's way more third lines than anything else. So that means with these different energies, there's trial and error. So a lot of these energies that exist within us are going to like kind of be clumsy at first, and you're going to learn what doesn't work with these particular expressions. But I think that that is secondary information to what I already shared. Um, and I do want to also stress the importance of that 5 and the importance of you having regeneration and renewal. Um, you do have that. Where is it? It's like hard to see. Yeah. Your personality Pluto, which is blaze of glory. That's a toughie. It's like win at all cost. But that can also be like lead into your need for retreat and renewal. And that retreat and renewal should include where you fit into the flow of whatever it is. I mean, I feel like you constantly need to check that, your flow, how you fit your place in the flow of whatever it is you're responding to. And that also includes the Akashic Records pursuit, like feeling into what aspect of that what am I feeling into? Because Akashic Records is rather, it's like me saying the word soul library. Okay. Well, let me just take the word library. What sort of librarian, there's other people who work at the library, or what are the tasks in a library? Well, there's people who sort the books, they put the books away, I don't know if people are still doing the Dewey Decimal System, but maybe showing my age a little bit there too. But what aspect of that are you feeling into that feels good? What aspects of that may not feel so good or you're uncertain with so far? What part of that, where are you feeling your place in the flow of that? So these are things that you would consider, and that would help solidify that. The Dewey Decimal, the Dewey Decimal Akashic Record filing system. Okay, excellent. But it's all going to require, as a one, that you sink your teeth into it and really learn it and develop a foundation for it before you begin transmitting it. That is something you have to understand. And then while you're doing that, you're going to get more out of it than you think. And it could take a different turn, and you have to, because you're a 3. And so as long as you entered it into correctly, you said that it showed up for you, and that you're responding and you're feeling into it, then it's about you really developing a foundation in it and surrendering to what is going to come from that experience. And you might bump into the wrong instructors for it. It could be that you bump into somebody who's a faker or not really that great at what they're doing, but you don't know enough yet to know that. This is a complete just example. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen to you or whatnot, but I'm saying the type of situation where you bump into something that you're not expecting. Anyway, where are we at? I really do recommend the past life thing because I think it could be really helpful. You don't have to do mine, of course. It's just easy and available and $37. But I do think in your case, it's going to provide you with some answers and explain some things. But that is off topic because we are, after all, talking about human design. So I hope that helps. I'm available for more whenever.
Why don't we just open up if anyone, would you be open to any questions if anyone has any questions? Wow, the past life offer sounds amazing, Kelly says. Yeah, it's really, I'm going to do a little shout out for Davidian. Davidian is also hypnotherapist. And so he really merges a lot of the human design with the this really intense hypnotherapy, and it's really powerful. I put the link in the description. I also put it in a couple of chats. So if anyone is curious to check it out, you should. Also, Davidian is open for one-on-one readings. So that was powerful, right, Nikki? That was so powerful. What did I pop out?
Sorry. I just wanted to say one thing regarding the sessions. They're not all live. Some people might prefer to have something pre-recorded. Many of you might have seen my videos where I include imagery. So I have some where it's just me creating a video about you that has to do, different imagery, which I find is my thing. Like, I feel like it's a way for me to use my 4323 in bringing a novel concept by marrying it with different imagery. So, but I can also do one-on-one through Zoom and varying length sessions. So that's all on our Foxy 5D website. If you feel me.
Hold on a second. Also, Kelly's wondering if you do the one-on-one hypnotherapy.
I do.
So if they're interested in that, should they just
if they go to
one-on-one?
If they go to hypnohumandesign.com.
Okay, let me see if I can grab that link.
Okay. That goes into that. That goes into that. Yeah, a lot of these things are related. Sorry.
Yeah, sometimes it's great to get some one-on-one support. We offer a lot of videos and online DIY, and sometimes it's just nice to get one-on-one support in hypnotherapy or in let's see here.
I also think it's important. A lot of these things are complementary. I also, as a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yes.
You know what? It's not appropriate, so I won't share it because it just disappeared from my head. So it'll come up later.
Okay, so
accountability partner. Yes, it did. So I also help others as an accountability partner when you're starting your human design, and your chart, at least the amount that you should be clocking at whatever stage you're in, and just offering to be an accountability coach in that regard. Here's what's showing up for me, and then me just directing you back to you and highlighting certain things that you may not be clocking or recognizing. It's helpful to have that too, and I offer that as well.
Okay, so there's lots of questions here. As far as the Blackmoon Lilith, That's something that we're going to be kind of digging in a little bit more into. And I don't know if you're going to be including that in your readings. And Davidian, are you going to be including that if someone wants to do a reading and they want a little bit more on the Blackmoon Lilith?
Yeah, that and Chiron too. But the thing with that is that it's, I think the session, the link is connected to the name. People have figured out. What was I saying? Yes, but I can help point you where to look for that. But when it comes to Lilith, and I would say Chiron as well, it's going to require more personal contemplation, like Gene Keys style, rather than me telling you what this means. I can sort of bring you to the territory, and then it'll be about you meditating on how these things show up. And I have a video coming out on Chiron real soon, which will help too. You know, it's like Lilith is where we can show up as extra, and Chiron, this is a simplistic explanation, but Chiron can be where we don't feel we're able to show up at all for ourselves in particular areas, but able to serve others with that. Anyway, that's a very simplistic. Sorry, I mean that could probably just confuse you more.
Yeah, no, I don't think it does. I think it's really great, and I think it's kind of planting the seed for you guys. Everybody who's kind of excited about the Blackmoon Lilith, there's going to be a new a video and a new piece with Chiron coming soon. So that's sort of a teaser. And then Joyful Jennifer is asking for the one-on-one session fees. Now that is Davidian Live on Zoom, and I have the link here.
Yeah, if you just go to Foxy 5D and then you click on education, there's going to be a lot of different options on which type of session you might be attracted to. If you're attracted to the one-on-one live, there's that, but there's also there's just varying things to look at. Not to give you choice paralysis, but you might have a preference over one over the other, or a combination.
So, Nikki, how was that reading for you? I think that you said, let's see. Oh, okay. So Nikki's asking, yeah. So this page will stay. We're going to leave it on YouTube as well as on the Facebook page. So you will be able to come back and listen in. I don't know how long Davidian's going to keep it up for, but
I don't have any. Okay. No thoughts on that.
Yeah. But how fun was that reading, you guys? So fun to have like a little deep dive in the chart reading. So if you guys missed, this is one of our gifts. We gave out a couple different gifts in our last challenge, and it just took us a while to, because this obviously takes time and energy to do the live readings. But it's so fun to have all of you guys here with us.
I just would say one more thing for Nikki, that I don't know how to articulate this, but it's along the lines of, I think that you should, if it's about you sinking your teeth into Akashic records, that you, before you do that, that you eke out some time, like everyone's on board, you have people to watch the kids, or you're not going to be disturbed, and that you can just focus on that and really be able to place your focus there. with that 952. It's gonna help you be able to do that. I don't know. There's something about freedom of movement too, but I don't know where that shows up. But you being able to have some time for you to focus on this pursuit and develop your to hone your skills, to find your place in the flow of that is going to be helpful.
So, Kelly, hi, Kelly. Kelly says, is the 19 have to do with animals for Nikki? So, in her gate 1949.
I don't know what's Nikki's relationship. Just remember, there's like the this or the that with all of this. It's really these gates. They place you on the continuum. It's like this is going to show up. It's either going to be this or that. So it could be that or the opposite of that, or you know what I mean? But it's going to show up. And again, it's worth saying that, we're all of this. We are all of these things. It's just what is consistent in us. What can we rely on? What's reliable? What's consistent? What can I trust about myself? Because all these different gate things, flavors, we're all, have access to all that, but not consistently, not something that we can count on. And that's where human design, it comes in handy, is because it tells you, oh, this is something I can count on. This is something I can't count on. But it doesn't mean you can't be that. I don't know. That was not even a direct answer to Kelly's question, but at the same time,
no, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. And the 1949 is yeah. So Nikki says she loves animals and spending time in nature, and yeah. Right. So most people,
it's like the lover and the butcher or something. It can be both. I like animals. I like to eat animals. Or I like to pet them, or I like to eat them. There's all sorts of stuff with that. But also, when you have the full channel, it's a different thing. I'd be an idiot to say that the particular line number of the contributing gate doesn't matter, but it's the life force of that is different. It's a third thing, not just A plus B, not just 19 plus 49.
So Nikki says she has a couple comments, and I'll just read them for you. She says, amazing. I can't wait to go back and take notes. I have to redo things because, she's mostly right arrow, right? So she's going to have to really take time, redo things, take everything in, but definitely could see myself in everything he is saying. And thankfully, I have been working hard with compassion and surrendering. And then Nikki says, finding time to focus is my hard part. No one I know understands any of what I'm going through. I am the first one in my group of people to go through an awakening. It's so powerful, girl. That's so awesome, because that means that you're going to shift your whole fractal, your entire fractal by you living as yourself. That 3410, it's the only way. You couldn't teach it unless you're being it. And now everyone
and be careful with your arrogance when it comes to your spiritual development in the environment of people who aren't on that path. So you're going to have to hold that also carefully with compassion, because it could be like
you're so better than everybody.
You're so unconscious. And I'm just saying that how you hold that is your challenge. Is your challenge to grow spiritually in an environment that is not nurturing to that pursuit, and not let it destabilize you, and to allow them to have their unconscious life in the midst of your more conscious one. Easier said than done, for sure.
It
But
totally is, but they will also see, and it will turn a lot of people on, and it will open the doors for a lot of people that are, ready for that. And you also have a lot of new people coming in.
I think also
Bonds made, bonds broken.
yeah, and if Akashic Records is your thing, you're gonna, naturally find a new community in that regard. Just, you know, strategy, authority, rinse, repeat. That's the only thing that you need to get right. Like, you need to like just really put all your efforts into that and finding your stability there, so much so that you recognize when you're not doing that. That is the most important things. There's so much information on the internet, so much upper division, incredibly scintillating, captivating, juicy human design information that will rabbit hole you so far away from you living it. And that's the thing. It's like, how do you stay in this temptation, in this Willy Wonka chocolate factory of human design information and just focus on strategy and authority? But that is absolutely what you, me, everyone has to do before graduating to these other areas, or it just becomes interesting cocktail talk that has no real ability to change and transform your life. It's just interesting, and the mind stays relevant, which is the mind's greatest, goal. It wants to still be in charge. It wants to still claim everything, including your human design practice. So just caution everyone to slow your roll, or you just, there's plenty of human design people who aren't living it. They're just transmitting it, and they're selling something they don't have. And so really, the more time you can spend with the basics and getting your stability in your strategy and authority, wow, that alone can transform your life, even if you didn't know about the other stuff. But you have to get that right first before you go on.
I try to focus on what Raquel is teaching me so I don't get lost. Yeah. And you're doing great. I mean, seriously, it's step by step building the foundation, and like you are having such profound transformations and everything you're doing. It's so awesome. And then,
It's just a very self-loving thing you can do for
yeah.
yourself, because it explains so much about why you did what you did, or experienced things the way that you did, or bumped into whatever experience. And as you're doing this journey, just try to cultivate a lot of compassion for yourself. Just the fact that you're exposed to this system is so rare. It's such a blessing, because it explains so much, and very few people relatively are going to ever be able to tap into this. But imagine not needing anybody else to know what's correct for you, and the approaching uh, paradigm shift in front of us, where we're not going to be you can't rely on what you see on the internet. AI is going to say this or that, and all these, all this amygdala hijack, and being, um, you know, being in these echo chambers where we hear what we want to hear, and AI is feeding us through our feed. God, all these words are just so funny when you think about them. Our feed, which is dedicated to emphasizing what we already think and believe. It's a real shit show of sense making. So
Yeah, it's divine timing. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I've said enough.
Yeah, it was really good. Nikki had a lot of profound insights. And so anybody listening in or listening to the recording and you want your own personal private one-on-one, if you notice, we don't offer these that often. And I'm so tired. I'm too tired to even do these. And Davidian is really, really, really good. And so
And
I
please
really,
don't buy any for anybody else.
oh yeah,
I,
that's
I
really important. Yeah, you
honestly,
gotta
I
just
don't.
do it.
I It's like the worst feeling for me, for someone who doesn't have a feeling for me, to have to sit opposite me, and because I have my own way of delivery, and if someone doesn't know what they're coming into, it's painful for me because they're like, who is this weirdo? What is he saying? What kind of gift is this? Tina, why did you buy me this? No, I don't want that. So if you're feeling me and you're getting me and you're wanting more of this, then yeah, please reach out, but not as a gift to Tina or Judy or Tom or Chad.
Yeah, so interesting. Thanks for letting us be a part of it. That was so profound. Oh my God, my physical pain body has been through it, feeling better. Awesome, you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hold on a second. Let's see Nikki's comment. This is so amazing. I cannot thank you enough. I can't wait to do the past life sessions when I'm ready. Awesome. Um, that's awesome. I can relate Davidian as a line 5. Yeah. So you guys, this was really fun. I'm glad you guys kind of that was really fun. And thank you so much, Davidian. And thank you everybody who's here participating. And
Thank you.
we love you guys. We love having everyone part of our community. If you didn't catch Davidian's last video on Blackmoon Lilith, really, really important. And you can also grab your Blackmoon Lilith chart. And yeah, thanks you guys for being here. So glad you were able to jump on. Love you guys.
Good journey, everyone.